This is music, and these albums have awesome titles. Welcome to another video. This is a response video. It's a response to a thread started by none other than His Majesty, the King of Keswick, MetalMickey. He's got a vinyl community channel, but he quite often makes videos that are just a little bit different from the mold of your usual vinyl community video, and that in itself is very interesting. He is also not afraid to share his honest opinion on even releases that are considered sacred in the vinyl community, and he makes good videos, so go and check out his channel. He started a lot of threads throughout the years as well. In this thread, basically show 10 albums with awesome album titles. Now in his video, MetalMickey said that he didn't put a whole lot of thought into the albums he picked. He just liked the titles. So there was no rhyme or reason or anything to that, using his own words. In this video, I'm gonna overthink things. Now you're warned. So up first, Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap by AC/DC, international version, Aussie version. And I think, and I always thought that Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap is an awesome title. I think it's an awesome title because of the alliteration. The D sound is repeated, dirty, deeds, done, and dirt. But there's also assonance. The E sound appears twice, right? In deeds and in cheap. So that's cool. And of course you have repetition of dirt in the adjective dirty. And then in the, it's an adverb technically, dirt, like dirt cheap. So actually there's a lot of really interesting stuff going on in terms of poetic schemes. So there you go, Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap. Up next we have Agent Steel, Unstoppable Force. Now there's one thing about Unstoppable Force, like, you know, just the title evokes a sense of, you know, something out there that's menacing, something that's dangerous, something that's powerful, and of course that's a pretty good type of title for a metal album. But I also just like the word unstoppable. It's just a fun word to say, unstoppable. So there you go. A great album, by the way. I do prefer Skeptic's Apocalypse, which also has a pretty cool title. But this is a pretty good speed metal, heavy metal album. There's a fantastic instrumental on it called A Day at Guyana. In one of I think actually in a couple of cases, MetalMickey mentioned that there's some words that he just likes, like pandemonium. I also have some words that I just like, and one of is beyond, like in Blind Guardians, Somewhere Far Beyond. And I think I like the word because it evokes a sense of mystery beyond. It kind of means like you have a boundary, and then on the other side of that boundary, that's the position of beyond. So it's somewhere typically out there. And then of course you have somewhere, which is an adverb, a place adverb, a locative adverb if you wish. But somewhere is kind of like a sort of unspecified location. So at an unspecified location beyond the boundaries of whatever, right? And of course if you listen to the song, it's somewhere far beyond our reality. And of course it's far beyond, so it's way out there. I also considered picking Massacres from Beyond, but I went with this one. Great speed metal / power metal album. More power metal than speed metal, somewhere in between. Now, a death metal classic, Necroticism, Descanting the Insalubrious. So there's a lot of cool stuff going on in this title. First of all, you have Necroticism, which is kind of a portmanteau of necrotic and eroticism, One has to do with death, the other one has to do with love making and intercourse and all that stuff. And of course you combine the two and it becomes kind of weird. But then you have also descanting the insalubrious, two words that are they're foreign words in English and they're not used very often. So it adds a twisted sense of almost like humor, using words that probably might not belong in a rock music world. So I think that's interesting too. Very cool album title, fantastic death metal album in my opinion as well. Up next, Cold Lake, Celtic Frost. Don't start crying. No, don't worry. If we just ignore the music on the album, if we ignore the image they had on this album, if we ignore the fact that one of the band members doesn't even know how to zip his pants, Cold Lake is a great title. Imagine that this had been a doom metal album, Cold Lake. I think it's a great title. I do like the music on this album too. I don't have a problem with it being a little bit straight up heavy metal. I don't consider it glam metal musically. They had a glammy image on there, but the music is pretty solid, straight up heavy metal. So there you go. I don't care. Up next, Dizzy Miss Lizzy, Forward in Reverse is the title. This is their comeback album. And I like this title because it has a built-in kind of self-contradiction or antithesis, maybe even an oxymoron, like two opposing terms, like forward and reverse is backwards, and then you combine those, forward in reverse. And then if you know this band and if you listen to the music, it also makes a lot of sense because the band is reunited here. They plan to put out more albums. They have put out another more prog rocky album since this one. But the music, the sound production on here sounds exactly like their two classic albums in the 90s. So that's a great title too that kind of links up with the album itself. Here's another one, The Sultry Into Eternity. So first of all, eternity is just a cool word as well. Kind of like, something that never ends, you know what I mean? And then, of course, you have into eternity. So movement, like from the preposition here, movement into whatever this unending space is. And you do kind of turn it into some kind of spatial thing in a weird way using this preposition. But there's also a pretty cool poetic strategy being used here. Again, alliteration and consonants into eternity, right? So the T sound is repeated. Awesome album cover too, and awesome Swedish death metal, as far as I remember, Swedish. Up next, a thrash metal classic, Flotsam and Jetsam, No Place for Disgrace. I just like the fact that you got a rhyme in the title, place and disgrace. I almost picked Evil Dead's Annihilation of Civilization for this one because that's a very similar thing, but I went with No Place for Disgrace. Great album too. Up next, Sepultura, Chaos AD. Great album cover. So Chaos, it's a pretty cool word on its own, but by adding AD to it, sometimes just combining words that are either cool or maybe not even cool on their own, combining them can make all the difference. And that's what Sepultura did here by taking Chaos and then they just added the AD to it. So Chaos AD, great title. And again, if you listen to the lyrics on the album, a lot of these lyrics on here are kind of like, social criticism, political criticism, and so on and so forth. And then the Chaos AD suddenly makes a different sense because now it really describes the time that and the societies and all that stuff, the era that Sepultura that they criticize on here. but just Chaos AD just sounds cool as well. And the 10th one is this one here. Sortilège, Métamorphose. It's just a fun word to say in a fake French accent. So there you go. Great album title. I mean, Metamorphosis it's a cool thing. It just sounds... It's a fun word to say in French. You know, what's your problem? Great album too. So that was 10 albums. Let's have 5 more, 5 bonus albums. So the first one here is Heads or Tails by Saga. And of course they've spelled tail, not like this tail, but tail like in, you know, like a story. So that's a fun pun. I like puns. That's why I actually like dad jokes. So it's a fun pun here. This is, I mean, the word tails spelled like this sounds exactly like the word tails like this. So we are dealing with, this is called homophony. They sound the same. So Saga just exploit this homophony, and then of course there is an actual tail on here, and you have a head too. So there's multimodality at play too, where there's some kind of interplay between the verbal part, the language part, and the visual part. I like that. That's neat. The next one is just a cool album title. It just sounds cool. Mekong Delta, The Principle of Doubt. And maybe there's a little bit of, I don't know, perhaps a bit of a contradiction between principle and doubt. Because a principle is typically something that applies regularly, if you know what I mean. And doubt is, of course, something you're uncertain about. So there might be a little bit of a contradiction here. But I just think principle of doubt is just a cool, again, way to combine words. The next one, Metal Lucifer. It says, well, something in Japanese, but it's called Heavy Metal Bulldozer. That's cool. That's all I have to say. Next one, this one here, Pink Noise by Stephanie. And I just like the title Pink Noise. It's kind of a synesthetic kind of title where you describe sound using, in this case, a word for color. So pink and noise. And that makes you wonder, so what does pink noise sound like? And it's, of course, also maybe a little bit of a pun on white noise. Pink noise sounds like pretty standard, solid 80s metal hard rock. So there we go. Pink noise. Just, again, kind of a nifty way of combining words. And up last, to have a long title, All Hell's Breaking Loose Down at Little, Kathy Wilson's Plays. That's a long title by Wolfsbane. This is more of an EP than an album. And it's pretty cool because it tells a story, basically. There's a very compact story in this title. So I think that's cool. And it's also like a complete independent clause. It's an entire sentence, not just a phrase. So I think that's pretty cool too. So there you go, Wolfsbane. Pretty good EP as well. So there you go, 10 albums with great titles and 5 bonus ones. Well, one of them was an EP. So there you go. Check out His Majesty, the King of Keswick, MetalMickey's channel. Thanks for watching.